A battle royal is underway at the High Court in London over $1 billion worth of solid gold. The gold, of course, belongs to Venezuela, and the court is being asked whether or not it will accede to the legalization of theft, of international piracy, of brigandry, without the robbers even having the courtesy to wear a mask. You may very well ask why a country like Venezuela trusted London with its sovereign wealth. Unfortunately, a very significant number of countries of the global south have done so. The only alternative, I suppose, being the Federal Reserve in the United States of America, which you might think is marginally less trustworthy, or at least until now. The fact that the gold belongs to Venezuela is not at issue. It can hardly be. It was deposited in the Bank of England by the recognized government of Venezuela at the time, and the recognized government of Venezuela at this time wants the money to be sent to the United Nations in New York for the development program work on coronavirus in Venezuela. Now, Venezuela has done fantastically well in combating COVID-19. Only 4,500 cases have been recorded, and only 45 people have died from the disease, compared to Britain, where 65,000 people have died from the disease. But nonetheless, the parlous economic condition of Venezuela, with poverty, malnourishment, widespread as a result of United States and international sanctions and embargo on the country, is such that the sovereign government of Venezuela has asked the UN to administer the funds on their behalf for the relief of the people. What kind of court, what kind of government, what kind of Bank of England could resist such a cry from the heart? Well, the answer is this kind of British government and this kind of Bank of England. And we'll find out soon whether this kind of High Court in London is prepared to legalize the brazen theft of $1 billion of gold bullion. The British government is among 50-odd other governments in the world that recognize a man in the street called Juan Guaido, who appointed himself as the president of Venezuela. But that holds absolutely no water in international law, because the vast majority of countries in the world continue to recognize the legitimate elected government of Nicolas Maduro. And it's his government that holds the seat in the United Nations, which means international law is on his side. It is completely false for the British government to claim, as they have claimed, that they do not recognize the government of Nicolas Maduro. That's a lie. They recognize him every day when their diplomats in New York talk to his diplomats in New York, in the canteen, or in the fora themselves of the United Nations, the sovereign international body in the world. So, I'm afraid there is nothing that the British High Court can do except allow the legitimate elected government of Venezuela to have their money. It's not even as if they're asking for it for themselves. They're asking for it to be sent to the United Nations and spent by the United Nations. There's nothing the High Court can do on that, unless the High Court wants to, and for all time, kill the idea that other people's sovereign wealth will be safe in the vaults of the Bank of England. It used to be a thing when I was growing up. It was a phrase, as safe as the Bank of England. But it may turn out in the next day or two that the Bank of England ain't very safe at all.
You're not a dish.